There's this weird problem that I see often with very successful people, and it's one of those things that feels really gross to say out loud because it's technically a good problem to have, and yet it is indeed still a problem. And if no one names it, you might not know that you're struggling with this. I call it the curse of the high achiever. And it's what I've seen time and time again, where you are really capable at what you do. And so opportunities find you, but you are not actually leading your life. You end up successful, but not bought in, grateful, but unfulfilled. And really what you're doing is falling upwards. And it's a super overlooked issue. So let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a career and mindset coach, and I've spent the last 9 years working with driven, capable people who look successful on the outside and yet feel pressured, stuck, and disconnected on the inside. And in my time working with high performers, I've noticed that this pattern shows up constantly with people who are really good at what they do. So it's important that you understand it. Here's what I mean by the curse of the high achievers. Tell me if this sounds familiar. When you are super capable and reliable and give 110%, you don't always have to chase opportunities. And this is amazing and super flattering because you'll be the person whose old boss reaches out to you for something new. Or when your coworker starts their own business, they'll think of you. Or maybe you'll be at a client meeting and they'll say like, hey, if you ever want to go client side, those things have all happened to me. I get it. It happens in a couple phases. First, capability creates opportunity. Because you're capable and a hustler, doors open. Phase 2, you take those opportunities because you're flattered and you're grateful. The thing sounds great and you feel like saying no would be wasteful or ungrateful or irresponsible. But then phase 3, opportunity starts to replace intentional choice. That's where it gets a little tricky because if you do not know what to say yes to and to say no to, you might end up in a career that looks great but doesn't feel right. And it's because you have had zero say in determining this path. And that entire sequence is how we end up with this accidentally impressive life that feels like a prison of our own making. If you do not have discernment, that is where this becomes a curse. And again, I know this feels hard to say. It can feel really embarrassing to say I'm successful, but I'm not happy. It feels entitled to be like, oh, all these people are giving me great opportunities. Can you believe it? It's actually a bad thing. But gratitude can make us gaslight ourselves. And that's how we end up stuck. You can appreciate those opportunities and you can still acknowledge that if you don't know when to say yes and no, they can be problems. And if you end up with a life that looks successful but doesn't feel like yours, what good is it? You end up kind of resentful, chronically dissatisfied, even if it's just like a low-level dissatisfaction running in the background. You end up feeling stuck and afraid to make choices because you don't want to give up what's good. And maybe most importantly, you lose all of your internal trust because you start to think to yourself, why don't I know what you want? But you've never asked yourself what you want. Your mind doesn't really know how to listen to itself anymore because it's never had to. None of these things meant you chose wrong. It just means like most people, you haven't necessarily had the space or tools to choose intentionally, to choose based on you. And so I really wanted to share this curse because I think it's so much more common than people realize. And like I said, there's a lot of shame associated with it, but there shouldn't be. So I want you to think about this curse. And if you found this video, I want you to reflect to yourself really quickly and be honest with yourself of like, did I pick my path or did it pick me? This entire issue is why step 3 of the Achievers Reset framework exists, where we work on coming back to your authentic self. Because it's not about finding your passion or finding a job that's going to be the thing for you. It's about finding yourself again. Because for a lot of the people I've worked with, they've just really lost touch with that. All the pressure and performance and the opportunity has been running the show, so much so that you don't have that inner voice. And so our job is to help you rediscover it. Because if you are struggling from this curse of the high achiever, that is the true way out, is to come back to you and what you like and develop that level of discernment of here's who I am, here's what's important to me, and here's what's a yes versus what's a no. Because then when those opportunities come to you, you know how to say yay or nay. And that is how you take those opportunities and turn them into a life that actually feels good versus just looks good. So for any of you who can relate, whose path has been shaped more by opportunity than intention, please know that the next step is not necessarily making a big decision or changing everything. It's just rebuilding discernment. It's coming back to you. For those of you who want support with that, within the Achievers Collective bundle, we help take you through that process to let go of that external noise and then rediscover your own voice, to do those steps of the Achievers Reset framework so you can reconnect to who you are outside of achievement and stop letting opportunities determine your world. So I'll drop a link below in the description if you want to explore that at your own pace. but I got you. Now, next week in our Achievers Reset series, we're talking about why just caring less about work never actually works, especially for high achievers, and why adding more hobbies doesn't make you feel more balanced in your work. It just makes you kind of resent those hobbies. So if you feel like work is still running your life and you kind of want to change that, you will want to hear it. So be sure to like and subscribe and come back for that. In the meantime, let me know if you can relate to this curse of the high achiever. No shame, welcome. Yes, it's a great problem to have. Yes, you're grateful, and you can still be unhappy, and you're not alone. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.